Welcome to Yoga for You, a channel tailored to helping you discover your very own unique yoga practice. Hello everybody, welcome back to the Sagacity Spotlight. Today's guest is Ashley Melin, 20-year Nike graphic designer, founder of SOULJOUR. Speaks on what a Sangha is, the importance and benefits of surrender, and how divorce taught her the meaning of love and God. I hope you enjoy this one. It was really nice talking to Ashley. Definitely listen to what she has to say in regards to SOULJOUR, an amazing brand that she started, referencing your soul's journey and what it means to be a soldier, transmitting pain into love, a true alchemist, if you may. Stick around to the end. Check the description section below for all the amazing links to great content. And as always, Namaste. Hey guys, welcome back. This is Ty, and today we're blessed with the lovely presence of Ashley Melin, and she is the founder of SOULJOUR. She's an incredible human being who I've had the pleasure of working closely with over the last couple years, and she is very well versed in travel and India and Costa Rica, and also just general knowledge on yoga. She's been doing yoga for over 25 years, so she knows the ins and the outs. She knows what feels good. She knows what doesn't feel good. So it's an honor to have her here. I'm going to introduce Ashley. Thank you so much for being here. And yeah, welcome. Welcome to the talk.
Thank you, Ty. It's always a pleasure to have a conversation with you, and I really appreciate the opportunity, and it's great that we get to do this.
Yeah. So where are you today? What's your day look like today?
Well, I'm in Bend, Oregon, where I moved here like 8 months ago in the time of COVID. So I'm here today. It's really sunny outside. I'll probably go, well, it sort of depends. It's spring break. So my son is ruling the show right now. So we'll see what he wants to do. Yesterday we skied powder. Today we might go for a mountain bike ride. It's pretty nice out. So yeah, we'll just kind of see where the wind blows. We usually go outside and do something every day. And the nice part about Bend is, especially right now, you can mountain bike and ski in the same day. It's pretty incredible.
Wow, that's amazing. Yeah, that's such a beautiful space to be. You know, just had the extraordinary opportunity to stay with Ashley for a couple of days out in Bend, and we explored ancient juniper forests, recorded some epic videos that you're going to see on this channel, and just get to know each other a little bit more. So that was beautiful. And she showed me around to a beautiful little town, from tacos to just all sorts of goodness. But
Smith Rock too. That's in a fantastic energy vortex. One of my favorite hikes. So we did Misery Ridge, but it wasn't so misery when we had each other. So it was fine.
That's very true. It was very nice. We got through it, no problems. Nice. So tell me a little bit about how you first became introduced to yoga.
Yeah, so it was in 1992. I was just, my parents had moved to Sun Valley, Idaho from California. And so my dad was in fitness world when I was growing up. He started the Bay Club actually. And so I grew up in like a fitness environment. And so in Sun Valley, there's an athletic club. And at the time, it's no longer there anymore, but at the time there was a guy there named Richard Odom, and everybody went to Richard's class. And so my parents took me to Richard's class, and I didn't know yoga. I didn't know I was 18. And so I just knew, and his style is so unique. He started teaching the year I was born. He started teaching in 1974. So he's been doing it forever, but it's not like anything it's literally so unique. It's still the same style, and still after nearly 30 years and studying with so many different teachers from all over the world, I always, when I go home, I find myself back in Richard's class, and I tell him, you know, I've studied with all these people, I've done all these trainings, blah, blah, blah. And I always end up back in your class. And there's something about his voice, the way it's so basic, hardly even do like a down dog. It's like rolling around on your back, but he cues things like a swallow. And I don't know anyone that cues a swallow. So I was 18. I didn't know what I was doing. I didn't know it was yoga because it wasn't called yoga. It was called Richard's class. And I just knew how I felt. So I ended up living in Sun Valley summers in college, and then 2 winters after I graduated college. And I would go to his class every day. And I had, at that time, he had like a cassette tape. This is like dating myself, but he had a cassette tape, and I would listen to his tape. Like I can remember being in Africa. I can remember being in, like there was a summer I did an internship in New York, and I would put on my Sony Walkman, my little yellow Walkman, I'd stick his tape on, and I would do his class regularly. And, you know, eventually I just memorized it, but his style. And it's always a little bit different. But so I did that for about 8 years before, and I literally had no idea anything about yoga. And then I moved in 2001, I moved to Portland. I was living in Boulder, and I moved and I was doing his tapes and all that still then. Of course, later I found out Richard Freeman was there and whatnot, but I had no idea. So I didn't even know what yoga was. So, so I went to Portland in 2001, and I thought, you know, I kind of like this yoga thing. I think it's yoga. And I wanted to explore a little bit more. So at that time in Portland, there were 3 studios. There was Bikram, there was a woman who did this kind of Kriya, her own style, and there was an Ashtanga studio, and that was it. And so I explored all of them. I did Bikram for a year. I did, and then I started exploring Ashtanga. You know, back, we didn't have vinyasa. There wasn't such thing as like vinyasa and all that. So, so I started getting into Ashtanga. I found a studio that did that, and I really liked it because I was a runner at that time also. And so for me, I'm like, oh, this is cool. I get to do a workout, and I'm, you know, stretching and like feeling good and breathing and whatnot. So I kind of got into the Ashtanga thing for a minute, for actually a number of years. And I studied Tiffany Cruikshank at that time. She was not Tiffany Cruikshank. She and I would do Mysore. I would do her Mysore classes every morning at 6 in the morning. And so I got into this like, the one thing that Ashtanga did allow for me is to do a daily practice. And from Richard, I was doing that as well. So I began, you know, I was really doing yoga on a daily basis. Then I went to India, and that was 2004. So I did that for a few years. And then in 2004, I found myself in India. And I say I found myself there because I was originally supposed to go to Nepal. I was working at Nike, and I had a 12-month contract and then a 3-month break. I was supposed to go to Nepal. I wanted to go to Nepal to go trekking in the Himalayas. That was like my thing. That was really what I wanted to do. But there was all this insurgency, and the Maoists were like, it was really dangerous. And so like front page of the New York Times every day. And everybody was like, you can't go there, da, da, da. And so I was like, all right, I guess I still really wanted to go to the Himalayas, but I wanted to, but I could do it from the Indian side. I'd been doing yoga for, you know, a little while at this point. I'd read Autobiography of a Yogi, and I'm like, all right, let's do India. So I found myself in India, and then the first time I was there for 3 months, and just really exploring like what was out there. And on that trip, I met my friends who were living in Kerala for a year. They were studying Ayurveda. This is like my sister's friend, so a little bit younger than me. I knew him. I can't say we were really friends. Now we're really good friends, but at that time I didn't really know him that well. But it was like somebody that I knew in India, and it gave me like a destination. It gave me something to do. So I went down to just outside Oroville in Tamil Nadu, and my friend Ryan and his now wife, they were girlfriend, boyfriend at that time, they were there. And so we rented a house every day, and we did, their style was, okay, lay over the bed for 20 minutes. Well, first they would wake up at like, 3 in the morning and start meditating. So I would get up at like 4:30, start my meditation. I didn't really know anything about meditation, but I just sat. And then they would say, okay, like we're going to lie on the bed over the bed, over the back of the bed for 20 minutes. We're going to hold this thing for 10 minutes. And I'm like used to Ashtanga. So I was like, what are we doing? Like I was struggling, my mind was like struggling with this because I didn't want to sit for very long. I'm really like, I'm a hummingbird is like my totem animal. So
did they have a style? Did they have a name for that style?
It was Iyengar based. Yeah. It
Nice.
was like Iyengar based. So, longer poses, longer holds, la, la, la. So I came home from that trip, and my whole like notion of yoga literally got turned upside down. So I came home and I started to explore other teachers. Now it's like 2004. There were more there was like a few more studios. I had to look. It wasn't like how it is now where there's a studio on every corner at all. There was an Indian woman that I did some Iyengar with. There was, And then I got a postcard in the mail, and it was for a studio that was in somewhat close to my neighborhood in this style, Anusara. And I didn't know what that was. I had no idea. But I went to, who's still a very good friend and teacher, my teacher, Sarah Joy Marsh. So Sarah Joy had a studio and I loved it. It was like the format of Anusara was like from the heart. It was some alignment. There was a message. We were chanting. Like there was a whole like package in this way that they were doing their classes. So I studied with Sarah Joy I still go to her class. She's still a friend and we still talk on she's actually, I've taken her to India 3 times. So she's like my first like real, she was like my next kind of teacher that was my main. So I trained, did my 200 hour with her back in 2005. And then I did a class. She had a morning class. It was Tuesday, Thursday. We did this. It was the same people. It was 6:30 in the morning. And it was the same people for literally like 8 or 9 years. And we just grew as we were just like this little yoga family and this really tight knit kind of Sangha that, when I was pregnant, all through my pregnancy, like up until I had my son, I was like in her class. And even after I had, Carter, she let me bring him to class. So he was just in the bouncy seat. And so from there, like I started to explore other styles, other, people. Nathan Mills was a really good, was a really profound teacher for me. He also let me bring my son to class, and he does more of like a martial arts kind of vinyasa type thing. So Lisa Mae Osborne. So I had like a few teachers I started to branch. I had like a few teachers, more studios started to crop up, and I was just like obsessed, with, I still like, it's just always it's a process every day, but I really studied. I was really like going to a lot of classes, doing a lot of trainings. And then Portland started to come on the map. We did not have big teachers coming to Portland ever. So it was nice because all of a sudden we started to have Rod Stryker coming, Sean Corn. We had, Jason Crandall, T.S. Little. We started to have like a lot of bigger teachers coming through Portland. So I did a lot of workshops. And, I just sort of I've had my own practice, but I do value, like, I love learning from like master teachers. I think that's, I've never been a person that only has one teacher. And yes. It used to make me like bum me out. Cause I'm like, I never found like my teacher, I never had one teacher. But I've had a handful of teachers. It's not like I'm going to a different teacher every class. I've had a handful of teachers. And they've all showed me something about myself. They've all added to my own personal style, my own personal practice, so that now, like, I don't have to go to class so much anymore. I used to say, like, why don't teachers go to other classes? I never got that. And then all of a sudden it started happening to me. I moved, and traffic got bad in Portland. And all of a sudden it was starting to it would take like longer to drive there and back than the actual class. And I'm forget this. Like it got, now like COVID, now you can't go to studios. So, so the traffic in Portland really changed in the last handful of years. So I just was more in my own cave of my own studio and, doing a lot more meditation now. And so my style has like changed over the years. And now, but like I just did Christina Sell this morning. Like I love, the one thing about the COVID thing right now is you can I love that I'm able to take some of my old teachers that I used to do workshops with in my living room. And, just at least like once a week or, I like to do something at least like once a week where I'm doing something, just somebody else to tell me what to do. Christina just now is like amazing. I'm like, God, she gets me in places. It's so basic how she's so smart and how she sequences things where it doesn't seem hard, but every time I take her class, I get farther into something. She uses a lot of straps and props and whatnot. And, you get farther into things than you would otherwise. So, so I'm just like a lifelong, I think I'm a lifer. I'm not an active teacher.
Yeah, sounds like
I've done my trainings, but like, it's never been, teaching to me is never, that's not how I use my voice. My voice is through my graphic design. It's not through necessarily yoga. I do like leading meditation and I like leading journal activities, but, I don't know. I'm like a lifer on a student level. I love that.
I hear that. And that's so important to be able to understand that, and obviously you're so rich in just wisdom and knowledge and experience. It's so obvious. And for the listeners, I hope you're listening to all the beautiful names she's dropping. We're going to put them all below in the bio section underneath this video, so you can check out any one of these beautiful souls that has impacted Ashley through her journey, because they're big names and it's important to be exposed to a lot of teachers. I speak about it often. That's what yoga is. Yoga, in my opinion, and I know many who share this opinion, is that yoga is not one teacher. And in fact, yoga is diversity in teaching styles, in, whether it's a year here, a year there, or maybe it is one different class, each day of the week. It doesn't matter. Diversifying your understanding until you find how you can build your own that fits you. And it sounds like Ashley's a beautiful representation of that lifelong student journey that she has been on.
I will say one thing too about that is, a lot of people do like a 200-hour training, 300-hour. Now it's like 500 at least is like more legit. But, it's like a lot of training and then you're all of a sudden a teacher. I've been doing this for almost 30 years and I honestly don't even consider myself a teacher. It's like, but if I get in a position, like you asked me to do those videos last week, and you get in a position of like, will you lead a thing? I can drop into that really quickly and have a voice because I've done it myself so many times. So when I'm speaking is like, I think that's a thing for younger teachers to realize is like, go to training, study with masters, learn from them, because then, and do your own practice. That's the most important part, because that's where you learn about yourself. And then, and then you're able to share wisdom, because this is what I've learned. If you're only speaking from what I've learned in a training, it's like you're just rehashing information. So there's like a step in between of like the 10,000 hours that people say that you need to master something. That's legit. Like you need those 10,000 hours. At this point, I probably have 20,000 hours or more, but
Yeah,
now I can speak to it because I've just done it so many freaking times.
Yeah, it's almost second nature for you. And that's because you've done it in your own practice. I think it's important to also, these important keys that are coming up in a lot of these interviews, although the people don't recognize it because they're all coming from their own heart space, but it is so important to have your own rooted practice, whether you're a teacher or whether you're just a student. It's so important to develop your own daily or regular practice, whatever regular means to you, that you can return to, because that can quickly become your outlet. That can quickly become your safe haven. So I want to take a step back in the conversation. You mentioned a beautiful word earlier, and I want to give you an opportunity to touch on it for any listeners out there who may not know what it means. Sangha. I know it's a foreign word now in the COVID era, but once that comes to pass and we can go back out and do life again, it's important to touch on that. So I wanted to ask, what does Sangha mean to you, and how has that affected your practice in life?
Yeah, so Sangha means like is a community, and it can be, there's so many different Sanghas, and traditional yoga is like your yoga community. And that was that family that I had those years. But the one thing I love about studios, that this is where I knew which studio I would want to go to and which I didn't, the ones I resonated and didn't resonate with. Sarah Joy's studio and same with Lisa May had this studio, the Bhakti Shop. And the first moment you walked in, they would say, "Hi, how are you? What's your name?" That was like a thing for me, because there was another studio and, in Portland, that's a bigger studio. And you're just a number. And so you can go in anonymously, and sometimes that's nice, because sometimes if you just want to like go and kind of tune out, you don't want to talk to anyone, like fine. But I didn't feel the same like welcoming. And there is like, it's so simple. "Hi, how are you? What's your name?" And like, that is like an invitation that like you're part of something by being here, and so I liked those studios. I felt like I was part of that studio. And, now with my business that I'm starting, or that I've had for a couple of years, SOULJOUR, I like this idea of connecting people, and connecting people in a way that's perhaps a little bit different. A soldier is like a new archetype. That's a seeker, sage, warrior, a peacemaker, a rule breaker, or now I say systems breaker, sorry. And then a fearless force of nature. So I love a soldier is somebody who's faced a challenge and has transcended that and is sharing that light with the world. And so I like this idea. There's a fine line between like Sangha and tribe is a word that I stay away from. And so with Soldier, I look at that because I want to stay away from that idea of tribe. To me, tribe feels like you're either in or you're out, and it feels inclusive and
Beautiful.
exclusive.
That's a beautiful distinction.
And so for Soldier, it's like, we just call it the vortex, or we say the squad, but it's like, I like vortex because it implies that it just gets bigger. There's no like hard edges to it. You're not in or out. It's like, just come in the vortex, and the vortex is getting bigger, you know? And it's a lot of, it's like, doesn't matter what color you are, it doesn't matter what gender you are. Like, I'm not concerned about that at all. It's like, we have these tags on our shirts. We also make product. We put on experiences and make product and have a storytelling component. Who are the soldiers? Where are they? I want to find them. And on our tags, we have these little tags on the shirt, and it says, I am. And that's it. And then on the inside, it has soldier. But, you know, it doesn't matter. Like, it's more on like soul level, you know, that we're connecting at this point. So I don't know. There's like the Sangha is like, Sangha to me is like a gentler term. It can be just infinity. You know, the family just gets bigger. Versus to me, tribe is like a, I don't care for that word personally.
Yeah, I hear you.
It's like like-minded. You're like in this like-minded thing of like, this is what we believe or don't believe. I don't know. It's a little bit different.
Totally.
So yeah, but Sangha is a very thing. It's, you know, it's something that's in India. There's just, you find that all over the place, is different Sanghas.
That's amazing. And it is important to also, as a listener, you know, even during these current times that are temporary, like anything, there are still plenty of beautiful facilitators out there who are offering community-based organizations that you can attend on a regular basis. You know, Ashley just mentioned Soldier, and she is actually in the process of ongoing process of continually orchestrating and organizing these beautiful Zoom conference meetings where she brings in these incredible, talented people to speak on how this life is affecting them and how they're working to transcend it. Because if you heard that definition of a soldier, I think that would apply to literally all of us. So Ashley, could you talk a little bit more about that for us?
Yeah. So Soldier is something that came to be when I was getting divorced, and I was 40. And I had been with somebody since I was 22. So it was like almost half my life. And this was the time when I had been doing yoga at this time for literally like over 20 years. And I don't know that I really understood the meaning of love, of God, and really of like true yoga. I think I was doing a lot of asana with some meditation at that time. But what happened was I was forced, I don't know, like the universe forced me into a situation that, or I put myself in the situation, I guess, of where I found I was meditating a lot more. What am I going to do? Why am I here? Holy shit. Like so many different things. And who am I really? Because I had to recreate my identity or reveal my identity that had been really lost for a long time. And so I was meditating so much and in this cave, and I found God in this time. I was playing some game with my ex-husband that, you know, I was in this game with like our son as a pawn, and it was like, what is going on right now? So I was, you know, in attorneys, and it got pretty ugly. That was not really by my choice at all, but that's just sort of how it went. And I had to really be clear-minded. I stopped drinking alcohol. I stopped smoking weed. I stopped everything. I was like, I have to be so clear-minded right now. And I kept that. That fell away out of my life, really. And so in this time of being in this cave, literally like pranam on my stomach, like praying to God. And in this time, I had always kind of like rebelled against God, honestly, because it was, when I was growing up, it was like religion. It was like in your face more, and it was different. You know, now there's like this spirituality that's like so much more open, but at that time it wasn't so open. It wasn't there accessible so much, at least that I knew. Now I'm like, oh, maybe my eyes were closed. Probably was that too. But in this time, the download for Soldier came. And I had worn a hat during this time of also this time period. I made a hat for a friend of mine that's to go to Burning Man, and it said, hell yes. And I wore this hat down to Bhakti Fest in Joshua Tree, this big yoga festival down there. And this one day, about 15 people commented on my hat. And I'm like, man, if I had like a truck full of these, if I had like a suitcase in my, you know, a bag in my truck, in my car, I would be like, I would sell so many of these today, or this weekend. Cause like everyone was commenting on my hat, to the point that I wandered into a Lauren Roche class, and I didn't know who he was. I'd never met him. Now he's a mentor, and he helped me with our manifesto that we had based on of his book, The Radiant Sutras. And he loved my hat, and he pulled me up on the stage in front of the whole class and was like, talk to me about your hat. Say your hat as emphatically as you mean it. So I had to yell like, hell yes, in front of the entire class.
Yes, let's hear it. Let's hear it.
Hell no. Now I do heck yeah. Now I don't even do hell yeah. I do like heck yeah. I like heck yeah better. I'm like heck yeah. So it's so funny. Like at that time, I mean, it's so funny, but it to me, that was a spark that was like, oh, interesting. It was this tiny little spark that made me think, you know what? I've been a graphic designer at Nike for, at that time, like, I don't know, 15 years or something. And I know graphic design really well. I know how to do branding well. That's what I do for a living, for my job. And I'm like, I want to tell a story of yoga through my graphics. Because at Nike, I would take like the scientists, I would take all this language and I would make a graphic that was accessible and digestible to the viewer. And because there was all this like techie language that you would hear, and I'd have to make it just a simple graphic that explained all this type, you know, and I'm like reading yoga books all the time. I'm like, I feel like I can bring this. I love Judith Lasater has this book, Bringing Yoga to Life. And I love that idea of like, how do I bring yoga to life in my way? Instead of, like I said, I'm not really a teacher, like an actual yoga teacher. I don't consider myself that, but I like having this voice through my design. So I started designing graphics for tees, and we have four, right now we have four. I just actually printed a bunch of shirts. We have 2 new styles coming out, but we have these storylines that talk. One is the Star of Lakshmi. One is around the Phoenix Rising. And I kind of do this like sacred geometry, and they represent strength, abundance, balance. I have one that's kind of this cool thing with the chakras. And then our logo is a tilak that you would get in a Shiva temple in India. Like when they mark your face, when they mark your forehead, there's different ways of doing it. But one way is like the Shiva way is like the bindu, and then you have lines on both sides. And so that's where my inspiration of our mark came from. So I started designing these graphics that I was like, here's my voice. This is how I'm able to do things. Well, it was challenging to sell t-shirts out of nowhere. Nobody knows who we are. And at the same time, what happened was I was living in Lake Oswego outside of Portland, and I had a mud pit for a backyard. And I got some money, and I was like, I'm going to put I'm in the woods, so there's no sun, and I don't really want to deal with water, and I don't do grass and all that kind of stuff. So I put down 2,000 square feet of artificial turf. And I started practicing on this turf in the woods, and I'm like, this is really cool. I'm like, people need to do this. So I called my friend Deanna, who's a yoga teacher in Portland. I'm like, hey, I think I want to let's do like a thing. Like, you're the teacher, and let's just like bring people and have something of yoga in my yard. And with a week's notice, it was the 4th of July, and we did a free 4th of July event. And we had like 45 people show up. And I was like, and we didn't advertise. Wow. I mean, I don't know. We had a bunch of people. And so I thought, oh, interesting. Now I had a trampoline, and I moved the trampoline over to a different place. And then I put an Indian like yagya fire pit. It's square out of stones. I live next door to a 55-acre park. There's a school, there's no parking where I live, and I didn't want my neighbors to find out. So I had to, Lake Oswego is like uppity, and I had to like be on the DL. So we're systems breakers, right? That's in the description. So we have on the other side of the park is an elementary school. And so I'd have people park at the school, and then we would do a silent walk through the trails. And it's really woodsy, and it's cool, and people don't know where they are, and they just show up, and then you go like straight into a silent walk. And then they would walk into my space, and then we would have these we had all these amazing, I know a lot of people from studying yoga for so long. So I'm like, this person with this musician. I also love live music. I used to see music all the time. I would tour with all these bands and everything. So I'm like, grab this musician, this person, and stick them together and see what happens. And what I learned is like, when you put masters in their craft together, it doesn't matter. Like I had my friend Jenny was she's the keyboard player for the Decemberists. And she's like, I don't know, I've never done a yoga thing before. And I'm like, perfect. I don't want, I was like, yay, because I want things that are different. We did kirtan so many times and all that, and it's great, but I wanted to do something different, edgy, like a little bit unexpected. So we started doing these things, and we would add writing, and I've been having like these amazing events, and then COVID hit. So we went to, I went to India this last year in 2000. I forget what year it went, in 2020. And I came home, we got through our trip. It was March. It was literally right before the whole world shut down.
Wow.
And our timing was like divine timing, because we had this incredible, it was Nikki Doan from Maui and all her students. We had 4 Brazilians and like a bunch of women from Maui, all women. And so we did this trip, and I came home and I couldn't find toilet paper, and it was like a pandemic. And I was like, what is going on? I just came right into it. And I started doing classes right after the pandemic with Sarah Joy, my teacher that I've had forever. She's been doing Zoom classes before COVID. So I started jumping into her Zoom classes, and I thought, this is really cool. I love that I'm seeing people from different parts of, not just in Portland, in this class. And at least we know we're together, again, Sangha, but at least it's like Zoom Sangha, so I thought, this is amazing. What would it be if we had people meditating from all over the world about, this idea, like it wouldn't go away. And I had, hey, sorry, my dog. Right then, my friend Talea reaches out to me and says, what are you up to? We always have similar tastes, and do you need help with anything? And I said, I have this idea that I want to do like a meditation in the world with people from all over the world at the same time through Zoom. I have no idea how to do it, and I don't know what to do, but that's my idea. She's like, let's do it. I'm like, okay, cool. So I call Sal David Ray, and I'm like, I want you to lead this meditation because he would be the perfect person. And he's like, what if we did it with 11? I said, it's an 11-minute meditation, and I wanted a lot of people to do it. He said, well, what if it was 11 countries doing 11-minute meditations? And I'm like, oh, that's a great idea. So we took it and ran. And in 10 days, I had Rodney Yee. I had all these people from hotspots. I wanted the hotspots of COVID. So it was April 4th. It was 4/4/20. Because I was thinking, like, what's a date? I like numbers. And I'm like, oh, 4/4/2020 is really cool. Well, it turned out it was this like vortex thing that I didn't know. It was a planetary something or other happens on that day. I didn't know. I just thought it sounded cool. So it ended up like this whole thing. And we did hotspots from Spain and Italy, and we did Asia. We had Hong Kong, South America, New York, Southern California. So I really was like, I want to go to the places where the hottest spots are right now. And so that's what we did. And we pulled this thing off in 10 days, and we had like really good turnout. And so we started doing these live streams. We learned a team of people fell from the sky, literally. And then we started doing these live streams, and we did them. We did the next one around Earth Day. We had Ziggy Marley who showed up for that one. I mean, we had a lot of really great, I've had really great presenters the whole year. And we've been doing these killer, these live streams. Now what we've been doing now lately, it's kind of pared down, because then the energy changed around Zoom. At the beginning, everyone's sitting around and there was so much fear, and people just wanted to, like, there was a different energy. Now, fast forward a year and things have changed. So I'm always like changing with I kind of tap into, we had one that was like surrender to source. And I was struggling with a musician. I couldn't find a musician. Now it was like in June. So now COVID's been going on for a few months. I was like, the musicians now want like tons of money, or they're busy, and I'm like, oh no. I went into my studio and I go to practice this one more day, and I'm like, I am just surrendering. I have no idea what's going on right now. But I knew that I had 5 people that were presenting at my events who were African-American women and men. And right then, the protests of the BLM thing, all those erupted. And I'm like, okay, weird. I have all this, I already had, because they're already my friends. They were already on the thing. They were already there. And so I was like, oh, let's tap into this a little bit more. And I went in this practice and I'm like, I'm just surrendering. I'm calling in, I want some kind of Black musician, like soul, something, some kind of musician. That was the one piece I didn't have.
Yes.
I get out of the practice and I go to check my email. Hey, my name's Erin Nigel. I'm on Tough Gong Records. I'm a reggae guy. I'm a reggae musician in Portland. Do you need any musicians for any of your events coming up? And I'm like, what?
It gives
like
me chills.
It
gave me chills all over. Wow.
Literally. And I was like, oh my God, like that. That's when I knew that when you know you're like tapped into the thing that you're supposed to be doing, the pieces fall into place. Like the 10-day, we organized that thing in 10 days. Rodney Yee, are you kidding? He's like, Rodney Yee wants to call you on the phone, or you need to call him, my friend says. And I'm like, oh my God. So because it was like the energy was right. And then this thing, I was like, who's this gonna, and then he came around, and then I had like 5 more people come. We had this panel discussion that was incredible on that one. So I tapped in, I'm like, what's going on in the world right now? Oh, okay. And then, so I've been kind of just going with that a little bit. And so we've been taking these words, it started in surrender. So it started at that surrender to source. Then we did the next one, we did around courage, and it was called Catalyzing Courage. And it was in 8 days. It was around the Lion's Gate, 8/8.
Yeah. You do a lot of special portal events like that, correct?
Yeah. Yeah. I had my numerology gift, had a numerology appointment gifted to me for my birthday, like 5 years ago. And the woman opened the thing saying, your overarching life number is 111. It's really rare. You're a trailblazer. You came out of the gate with this I am consciousness. You're like a leader. Da, da, da. And I'm like, oh, it's so weird, because I was wearing a soldier shirt and I'm like, look, my tag says I am. And she was like, whoa.
Embodying it.
I know. So I got really into this, like 111. Soldier does events. We just did, we did courage for 8/8, and then we did wonder, was 1/1 to 11/1 to 11/11. We did 11 days of wonder, and I had that was on WhatsApp. I love WhatsApp. It's like my favorite way to deliver content. It's so much better than Facebook. And so super direct. I had videos each day for 11 days, all master teachers, and all looking at this idea of wonder. We did 8 days around courage. Now we just did, this Sunday is our last of the 5 series around awakening inner vision. And what does that look like? And so we've been really looking at that. And what I've found is when we look, I love this, like you take a word and then you pick it apart, like master, like I bring in these amazing teachers to look at the same word, and there's all these layers to it's just like you dive into this idea really deeply. I have a totem animal for everyone that I designed the graphic for. And like during this Awaken Inner Vision series, I personally have experienced so much clarity of my life that right now is in this very big shift about to happen. And I've been really confused and question marks everywhere. I experienced an awakening driving one day out of nowhere. And then I had just a lot. We did a tapping thing with MC. We did last week was another one. And it's not during the session that it happens. It's after. I'm like going about my business, and all of a sudden like, woof, like a flash comes in of the thing I'm supposed to, and I'm like, oh, right. Okay. So I'm just listening. And then, so these series are like things that I want to do because it's for my journey. They all kind of go, first you surrender, then you bring your courage. Then what happens after courage is you start to wonder. What happens after wondering? You have these question marks. Oh, now I want to get clear. Now the next one we're going to be doing is around trust. So trusting that the universe has, that the universe has that's got your back, basically. So they're kind of going in a progression. The format is always different. I like to change things up. I don't like to have things the same all the time. So that's going to be for June solstice. I don't know what it looks like right now because it just started to come in the last 2 days. So that'll be around trust. And yeah, so it's just a journey. The whole thing is just a journey.
It's so clear and it's so concise. And I like how, none of us really ever know how to navigate this crazy experience called life, but But when we get still enough and we experience moments of awakening like this, suddenly things can become more clear. And then the best part is once we act on those things, suddenly crazier things, you know, I heard a saying the other day, that's too coincidental to be a coincidence, right? Like moments like that come into our life. So what can you speak on about, how can somebody, you know, they hear you talking about this awakening, they hear you talk about this surrender. What are some super simple entry level beginner tips you would recommend somebody to maybe incorporate in their daily life to just get on the path of surrender?
First, two things is journaling and meditation and sitting quietly with yourself. You have to be quiet to hear anything. If you want to have a conversation with God and source, higher power, whatever you call it, you have to be quiet. So the only way to get quiet is to just be quiet, you know? So even if it's just a few minutes, like yesterday, I didn't have a lot of time, but my day is different if I don't sit with myself before I go into the day. So my like ritual is I wake up, I like pee, brush my teeth, and then I go get some warm water. I make the kettle with warm water. I drink a glass of warm water with lemon and I chug it. You're not really supposed to chug, but I drink it like, you know, somewhat fast. And then I go into a little bit of breath work, depending on how much time I have, but even just that, and then go and sit. And the energy changes during the day. It's best to do it if you're able to wake up before it gets light out. That's the best time. You know, they say that like between 4 and 6 in the morning, like in Portland in the summer, it's freaking light out at 5:30 is light. So the summer, you know, in the wintertime, it's great because you can wake up at 7 and that's fine. But, you know, so that energy just before it goes light, it does make a difference because it is quieter. Now, you can also do this before you go to bed. So it's the same, like when it's night and it's quiet and, you know, nobody's bothering you, just come with yourself. I like to just, you know, just simply be grateful, especially morning and night is nice because you like the gratitude is so important. And it's, you know, at night you can kind of reflect on your day. And in the morning you sort of set the intention, like I'm grateful for all the things happen, you know what I mean? So I love to just be grateful first. You know, there's lots of different things, but I would say that's a great one. Even writing that in your journal. I love having a journal next to my bed at night. I don't write so much like what happened that day. Like it maybe a little if it was something cool, but like it's more just how I'm feeling, you know, and being grateful and just writing things down. I do believe that when you write what's going on inside, it comes out of your body. So you're not hurt if it's negative stuff, especially, and it's fine to write negative, whatever you need, whatever is on your mind, you know? And so I like that where it just comes out. So you're not like instilling it in your body. And then I also like just, if it's positive, I think it's like setting intentions, you know, the manifesting process, it doesn't happen overnight. You have to every day believe it, you know, tell a story about it. I have noticed some things in the last year that are slowly changing. And I didn't even realize until it's not like a drastic thing. It's like all of a sudden, I'm just noticing my relationship with money has changed in the last year. I put a lot of energy into it. What's my old story? What's my new story? How seeing myself living in Bend. I lived in Portland for 20 years, but I had to get out. And the second I had the opportunity, COVID, my son's in online school, was like, I'm out of here. That's my chance, you know? So being prepared, all this stuff is like prepping you for when something actually happens, then you're ready, you know? So I just like warm water in the morning, journal 5 minutes, just a few minutes in either morning or night. During the day is like a little bit tricky. You know, try it in the day if you like, but for me, it's just morning and night because I'm either waking up or going to sleep. And then just being quiet, grateful, think into your third eye, or not think, you don't think at all, but relax into your third eye.
Relax the
Your
eyebrows.
heart. Relax the eyebrows. Sometimes I think, sometimes even when you're doing all this, like I'm seeing myself, all this visualization, then I just stop. And I just stop all of that. And I just feel into my heart. I say like, my mind is like, okay, you're done. Like just feel into this space and you turn your mind off And then it's just like, oh, you know, and like I said, I don't normally have, somebody asked me this recently. I don't normally have my like big ideas in a meditation. It's almost never like that, actually. It's when I get myself so quiet, and then I'm like going to the kitchen to go, you know, and I open the fridge and all of a sudden, poof, the thing comes in. And I'm like, oh, thank you. You know, I got that. Then it, you know, or you're going to do something later, you know, then it starts to happen. But in the meditation, I just think like the purpose of it is not to like control your it's not a controlled thing.
Yes.
It's like you have to really let that go. And just say,
Absolutely.
thank you so much. And that gratitude practice is like a higher vibration, you know? And if then you take that out into the world, then you take it, then your yoga is not the yoga mat. I mean, my asana is so much less than it used to be. It's not about the asana. I mean, the asana is fun. I just did a class this morning, but to me, it's like more than that. When you're hiking, I talk out loud all the time when I'm hiking. If you saw me hiking, you'd be like, who's the crazy lady over here? Because I'm loudly calling things in. Thank you so much. Look at this. Like, I just think like maybe my guides or angels or something, maybe they can't hear me when I'm thinking it in my mind. I have to say it out loud. I have to write it. Do you see? I'm writing it. Here's what I want. You know, here's my life. Thank you so much. And the little things to be grateful for.
Yes. It's so important. You know, it's that practice, you know, it's yoga is on and off the mat, and embodying that, it becomes a lifestyle. And that's exactly what SOULJOUR is, in my opinion. It's an overarching lifestyle that better represents a way to practice a more fulfilled life through gratitude, through awareness. SOULJOUR has these beautiful notebooks that they offer, these journals that are made out of apples. Like, come on, that's kind of incredible. And I think she's got one. Yeah, check this out.
I have them everywhere. I've got them I have one next to my, this is actually a sample one, but I have it next to my computer, my bed, in my car, and my mat. Like, I have them around, you know, so just if they're accessible, just make it easy.
Yeah. And getting it out, right? That's so important. You know, having I love that you said that. And a quote that hearing you speak, my father used to tell me, he had a military background, and I hear it in what you're saying. And it's luck is preparedness meeting opportunity. So being prepared, right? And then seeing the opportunity equals the luck. And that's exactly what you manifested in with your experience of moving to Bend. When you did, you had the preparation, and then you saw the opportunity, and then
I act. Yeah, I think I don't believe in luck. I don't believe. I mean, I know what you're saying exactly, but nothing is like lucky. I don't know. I feel like there's more to the story than that. You know, you don't just, I mean, totally. Even like when you enter contests and things like that, you really, like, I want to enter this sprinter van contest right now, but I have to wait because my astrology chart changes on April 7th. And I just saw it yesterday on Instagram, and I wanted to be like, oh, I want to enter this thing, because I really am like calling in the sprinter van. And I was like, nope, wait, do it after April 7th. And then really, like, when it really feels right, then do it. Then you never know, you know, and you have to put like your heart into it too. So the luck meets opportunity, meets preparedness, meets heart
and heart.
And heart something in there, you know, meets love or something. So
I love it. And it's kind of like a dissection of the word luck and coincidence, because it's not that. It's so much different than that. Not a leaf falls in the forest on accident, in my personal belief. But you've got so much knowledge, you've got so much wisdom, you have so much experience to share with the world, and it has been an absolute honor to have you here. What are some insights, maybe documentaries, maybe some books, anything that you could tell people to, that you could recommend to people to dive a little deeper right now in this point in their journey?
Okay, let's see here. Okay. Well, I'm just trying to think of what I read so much right now. Well, you just gave me the book that I read from college that I'm rereading as we speak, The Celestine Prophecy. What an fantastic, I read that book literally when it came out, and Ty gave this to me, reminded me about it. And oh, it's such a great book. So that's a really good one. Let's see, let's see. Oh gosh, I gotta think about, let me look at my, hold
just
on.
Anything no, don't be sorry. Let
me look at my Audible thing here. And then that'll jog my memory of, breath. There's a new book. It's amazing. It's the history. This guy is a journalist, and he studies the science of breath. It just came out. It's fantastic. let's see, is, oh, well, Matthew McConaughey's new one is fantastic. It has some really good insights.
Yes, I can second that. On my departure,
Is it?
Ashley gave that
Yeah.
recommendation to me, and then I took it with me. And for the next, I don't know, 8 hours, I just pounded through that beautiful
Yeah.
book. And wow,
It's like a good entertaining one. It's not too hard. Think
Yeah.
and Grow Rich is one of my all-time favorites from Napoleon Hill. That is around the spiritual aspect of money, because sometimes if we're only in the spiritual side of things, we start to forget and we wonder why our finances are where they are. And so that's a fantastic book. The Conscious Parent, if you're a parent, amazing book. The Dr. Shafali, I'm gonna butcher her name, Tsabare, Sabari. She's like Pakistani or Indian, so she brings in this Eastern philosophy into like Western parenting. If you're a parent, it's so good. Oh God, there's so many here. Is Joe Dispenza, Breaking the Habit of Being Yourself.
Yes.
I'm really into Joe Dispenza right now. He's the it guy for a reason. And I think, if you are stuck in your story, it's fantastic. There's so many things on YouTube right now that is reprogramming your mind. Fantastic. Let's see, The Seat of the Soul. That was an amazing one. Brene Brown, any of her books, but my favorite one is Braving the Wilderness. And she's so awesome. And then, let's see, I'm just going through. I love listening to books.
That's
I
so
listen to
good.
books all the time. And, it's funny, I listen to not so many spiritual, I listen to more like different books. When I read more like yoga kind of books. Let's see. Oh, I loved this movie I just saw the other night, the Crip Camp. I cried like 5 times. It really gives you an insight into people who are disabled, and you realize like on soul level they're the same, but we have them, they look different, and people are, I was fascinated by this movie. And I don't know, I'll think of other ones later, but
Yeah, that's a lot. That's great, because that gives people the idea. We're looking to expose people to all this beautiful information. We're going to put some links below to all of those beautiful books and movies, and maybe even a link down there to sign up and get involved with Audible, because honestly, that is the greatest way to do it. If you're a runner, outdoorsman, outdoor person, and likes to hike or just take road trips, it's a great way to consume information.
Yes.
On the go.
What I found, I like Audible better than podcasts, because what I find with podcasts, for me personally, is it's like noise. It's noise in my ear because they're short and they're, I like them sometimes. Sometimes if you just want something that's like shorter, like I love anything of, the Super Soul Conversations, those are amazing. But what I find is it goes in one ear and then out the other ear, and I forget all the stuff. It's just like stuff. And I think that with a book, I sit with it longer. It's a longer thing. You have to focus, there's attention to it. And I really find that listening, I've always been a big book reader. So I find that like listening to books for my lifestyle right now, I have to drive to Portland every Sunday, 7 hours in the car. I'm like, well, if I'm going to be in the car for 7 hours, everyone's like, oh, that sucks. I'm like, I'm getting really smart because I'm listening to like a book. I'm blowing through books right now.
Yes.
So it's, it's okay. It's not ideal, but I'm making the most of it. And Audible is like the greatest.
Yeah, Audible's amazing. So again, check the link below for all those recommendations. But Ashley, before we close out this interview today, I want to say thank you first off for being here. But I also want to open up the floor to any beautiful soul who has made it this far and listening to your beautiful experience and stories. How can they get involved? We're going to put the links below to all of her merch stores or information. She offers trips, but going into the next 9 months to 12 months, what can people expect from SOULJOUR, and how can they be involved in helping this become this vortex expanding a little bit more?
I am a great question. Well, as far as our events coming up, we will have one for June solstice centered around trust. We will have also, I'm working on doing catalyzing courage again. Like I don't want to have to always reinvent the wheel. So catalyzing courage will be around the Lion's Gate. That is probably going to be an in-person. I'm really itchy to get back into some in-person stuff. So That will be coming 8/8. I don't know exactly the details yet, because like I said, things change and flow with me all the time. So that'll be coming soon. We are doing, next summer, I'm organizing a yoga adventure festival kind of thing in Ladakh, India. I have been taking groups to India since 2007. So this is going to be like a whole different thing. It's going to be a week of yoga kind of service and cultural experience in Ladakh. It's one of the most incredible places in the world. And then there'll be a choose your own adventure afterwards. So that'll be coming up next summer. And then as far as how to get involved with SOULJOUR, I am always looking for help. So we are looking for, any kind of social media help, operations. If you know anything about sales, oh man, I would love to. I'm a designer, front-facing visionary. I connect people. I have the visions. I curate the experiences. The back end details, not my thing. ADHD to the max over here. So it's like not, if you're a details kind of person, organized, if you like to organize things, oh man, would we love to have you. So yeah, just DM or just message us. You can find me at, my email is Ashley@IamSouljour, SOULJOUR. SOULJOUR is short for Soul Journey. And so, but a soldier is somebody who's like in the world doing something good for the world. So leaving an impact, but leaving no trace. That's one of our duties. So yeah, we have new product coming out. I'm just ordering some stuff from India. All of our product is sustainable. Our journals come from apple scraps. I'm working with people in India right now, women, villagers who are going to be doing this really cool jumpsuit that we're making. And all our materials are eco-friendly. I'm super into protecting the environment. So we also, if you would like to make a donation, we are working with Tree Sisters. We partnered with Tree Sisters, who's this incredible organization that is empowering women in villages all over the world in tropical rainforests. So our goal is to plant 11,111 trees, and $1 plants 2 trees. So a lot of our proceeds go to, from our events, our portion of proceeds always goes to plant trees in our forests. So check out that, it's awesome. And yeah, we'd love to have you in the vortex anytime.
Thank you so much, Ashley. And as you all go and check the links below, look at all the graphics. I want you to really sit with them. Feel the power that Ashley has been able to transfuse into these graphics. She's got a world of experience in the real business industry. So she knows how to really bring in everything with her understanding of the spiritual world. She can make some incredible graphics. So check it out. If you feel so inclined, or if you have a brand or a business you're looking to grow a little bit more consciously, Ashley does offer consultation on a private level to any business who's trying to get their face out there with more conscious, more impactful, more intentional designs. So keep that in the back of your mind. But Ashley, pass it to you for any last words for these beautiful listeners today.
Yeah, I forgot about that. We do have a new Build Your Brand program. So I love graphic design, and I love creating I love making your ideas come to life. That's like my passion. That's my genius zone. So I'd love to help you. I really appreciate it, Ty. This is super fun. I love talking about all things yoga and like adventure and cool stuff, and always looking for another adventure. So let's do this again. And, I really appreciate you having me.
Of course. Thank you for being so bright and beautiful as always. And yeah, signing off this time. Until next.
All right.
Adios.
Adios. Ciao.
Hey everybody. Really hope you enjoyed that talk. It was beautiful to have that experience with that shared guest. We have a lot of very useful information in the description section below, so be sure to check it out. I've also linked any and all videos with that individual in the description below, so check those out as well. It's an honor to bring this footage to you, and I hope you can come back and continue to deepen your practice. Namaste.